say you wanna watch a drama. You say you wanna watch a comedy. Well, you can watch it with your mama, or you can watch it with your daddy.
You'll even sit and watch it with your middle schooler, so you can come and talk around a water cooler. We're watching all day and all night.
Couch potatoes unite.
Whoa, whoa.
Couch potatoes unite.
Whoa, whoa. Couch potatoes unite.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Exclamation point, which is based on a blog of the same name because we wanted to proliferate as efficiently and completely as griffins and gargoyles. And frankly, we think our name is just a tad cooler and a heap less dangerous. I am the blogger in question and the self-styled Chief Couch Potato. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground for something you like. For Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU, exclamation point, hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays, and as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, via Google Play, and now on Spotify to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including but not limited to Fuller House, Westworld, Arrested Development, Jane the Virgin, Schitt's Creek, Doctor Who, Supernatural, and Orange is the New Black. Plus, new episodes are in the works, including revisits for Gotham, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, iZombie, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., 13 Reasons Why, The Crown, American Horror Story, Grace and Frankie, The Good Place, Altered Carbon. The Marvel's Defenders series panel will conclude its run talking Jessica Jones Season 3. The DCTU series will tackle the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and the Star Trek 50 Plus series will chat the second season of The Next Generation. We'll be launching new panels covering the chilling adventures of Sabrina, Mr. Robot, Charmed, Outlander, the Breaking Bad universe, and This Is Us. And because we look back at shows now past, we'll take a smallish look back at a short-term show from some kind of yesteryear named Freaks and Geeks. We'll put out some musical stops for our crazy ex-girlfriend. We'll revisit one of the all-time and most-watched classic sitcoms in MASH, and we'll consider the moral implications and quick cancellation of Dollhouse. By the way, did you know that CPU also from time to time goes live? We've been live from bunkers, comedy shows, and Comic-Cons. We just went live last spring from Blue Bridge Games to take a shiny look back at Firefly. Plus, we're planning more live appearances and other cool stuff. It's true, I tell you. So make sure you like or follow us at our Facebook page, our Twitter at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our Apple iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play and now on Spotify. If you don't hear your show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we always seek new panelists. So if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of those outlets I've mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback, just not the Gargoyle King kind. I'm just going to leave it there because we're going to talk about that mess. Today we are around the water cooler and continuing our look at CW dark teen drama Riverdale. This episode constitutes the third part of a 3-part catch-up miniseries in which CPU will look at each past season of Riverdale before continuing the panel as one of our typical water cooler features. If you're not already aware, you should know that from time to time, your chief couch potato and main moderator, that's me, needs a break, particularly when I think others are more passionate about the show we're discussing in the moment. Case in point, today's episode, which I'm not here to moderate, rather frequent panelist Sarah returns to the moderating microphone for this series. Sarah is rejoined by panelists Emily, Micah, Nate, Jessica, Gabby, and me, kicking back as a panelist myself to talk about this third season. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome back Sarah to the moderating microphone. Take it away, Sarah.
Thanks for the intro, Kylie.
As always.
All right, Riverdale is based loosely on the Archie comics and the general Archie universe. Riverdale began airing on the CW in January 2017 and showed us our beloved Archie characters with a dark twist. Season 3 featured many plot points, including the ongoing tensions with the serpents and the ghoulies, the introduction of the pretty poisons, Fizzle Rocks as the drug du jour, the resurgence of the Black Hood, Archie's in prison / a boxer now, the farm is a terrible cult, and of course, griffins and gargoyles. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. You will be asked to identify yourself by first name only and remind us how you came to watch Riverdale. You will also be asked to rank yourself as one of the following characters from Riverdale. You love this show because of the great depiction of small-town living, both the good and the bad, since, after all, you are a small-town girl or a guy at heart, even though you have a secret dark side like Betty Cooper. You think this show is a breath of fresh air, a refreshing change from most of the emotionally turbulent things you've been exposed to, although recently you've decided that getting your hands dirty is worth it, like Veronica Lodge. You like this show, but have a somewhat complex relationship with it, similar to your I'm in prison, I'm not in prison, now I'm a boxer mentality, like Archie Andrews. This show sucks. Everyone thinks it's so great, but you see it for the gritty, disturbing portrayal it really is. And frankly, if you have to investigate every single crime and mystery yourself, you will, like Jughead Jones. It's fine. Everything is fine. The show is fine. You are a shining example of perfection, and not even a ton of weird deaths and joining a cult can get you down. As long as you have your lady love by your side and the lead in the school musical, like Cheryl Blossom. Look, you sort of like this show, but it's not really on your radar. You are coexisting with it because you must, but you have secret romances to cultivate and your own spin-off show to join, like Josie, without her pussycats. You didn't even watch this show, as you were busy helping your father recruit members for your weird organ-stealing cult, like Evelyn Evernever.
Father is in quotes in this.
It is in quotes.
Yee.
Who wants to go first?
So I'm Jessica.
Hi, Jessica.
Came to watch it from loving Archie as a kid, and then watching seasons 1 and 2, I was just hooked and wanted to keep going. I'm going to do Sarah's least favorite thing, and I am 2 characters this time.
I'll let it happen.
But I'm mostly Archie. I like this show, but there were parts of it where I just was like, what? So it's that whole back and forth. I'm a boxer. I'm in prison. I'm all these things. But then I'm also a little bit of Cheryl, because I'm like, well, this is fine. Like, this is okay. Like, I'll watch it. And I wish I had a lady love like Tony Topaz, but, you know, it's fine.
I'll go
Welcome
next.
back, Jessica.
Hey, Jessica.
I'll go next. I'm Emily. I came to watch Riverdale because I watched a few episodes of the first season when it first came on Netflix, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I like this. I like that it's dark, and it's really cool. And then I told Kylie that I would do the podcast, and then I forgot that I told Kylie I would do the podcast, so then I had to quick catch up.
That's part of Emily's and my reporting.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. I loved season 2 for me was better than season 3. So with that being said, for the second time ever, I'm going to only be one character, and this is a big deal for me because normally I'm a lot, but I'm Archie Andrews this time. Last time I was a little, I think I just said Veronica. I don't remember. I'm Archie this time. Season 3 was a lot more tumultuous and harder for me to get through than season 2, so I wasn't as excited about it, but here we are. Let's talk about it.
Thanks, Emily.
I am.
Welcome back. This is Micah.
Hi, Micah.
Hi, Micah.
Hello. I was Betty last time, and for this one, I have to jump to the house next door and be Mr. Andrews, because while I feel like my readiness to like the show was still at the same place it was for season 2, the show just gets weird. And so it was a wave to ride, and sometimes I was he was in and out of prison, I was in and out of understanding what was going on. So, Mr. Andrews, all the way.
Welcome back, Micah.
Thank you.
I'm Gabby.
Hi, Gabby.
Hi, Gabby.
I came to watch Riverdale again just because I love Cole Sprouse. And it was on Netflix and it just looked good. I think I'm gonna go with Jughead.
Ooh.
Shocking.
I hated this season. It was horrible, but again, I kept watching because Cole Sprouse. And I love it, so.
All right.
Welcome back,
Hi,
Gabby.
Gabby.
I'm Nate.
Hi, Nate.
Hi, I came to watch Riverdale much like everybody else in that I was an Archie comics fan. I even watched the cartoon Little Archie on NBC back in the 80s. That's how old I am. This season, I am definitely Archie Andrews. No, that's who I was last season. This season, I'm Betty Cooper because I fell back in love with this show. It was like eating a bag of candy in that, like...
Was it Fizzle Rocks?
It like, I knew it was going to give me a stomach ache, but I just kept eating. Like, it was like, there's so much going on, I just kept stuffing my face. I got like 4 to 5 hours of sleep for 2 weeks because I could not wait for it to come out on Netflix, and I binged it all so quickly. So I was like not sleeping because I was so excited for it to be back. And now I have to wait for season 4 to come to a streaming interface near me. So, but yes, very much Betty Cooper this season. I just think there's so much going on.
Wow, thanks, Nate.
Welcome back, Nate.
Thanks, it's great to be back again.
And of course, I'm Kylie.
Kylie.
Hi. I'm going before Sarah since she's moderating and I'm not. Phew. Of course, just to remind the listener, I watch Riverdale because 2 reasons. One, half the people that you've heard talk already requested that we talk about Riverdale on the podcast, but also do have a love for Archie comics, preview the shows that were coming out, knew Riverdale was coming out, knew it was going to be a dark retelling of the Archie comics, and hashtag Luke Perry, R.I.P. So I watch Riverdale. I have been Archie throughout, and I'm going to remain Archie even for this season. I have to say that unlike seasons 1 and 2, I struggled more with season 3 from a very hypersensitive nerd level. I'm really going to have some rants because they've weaponized Dungeons and Dragons, and I don't like that. But I also like that the theme this season apparently was homage to teen dramas past, and there were lots of Easter eggs for that. So again, it's a very mixed, complicated kind of mentality, but since I'm now a boxer, I do want to punch them in the face from time to time.
Great. Thanks, Kylie.
No problem.
Well, I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. I started watching this show because my college roommate, Sarah Habel.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah, if you're listening. Was in season 1 and very briefly in season 2. And we did get a flashback pic of her this season. So hope she got paid for that. At this point, I'm going to go with I almost could pick 2 or 3 this time. But I'm only going to pick 1 because I don't believe in that sort of nonsense.
Yeah, she has principles.
I'm going to say that I'm Cheryl. It's fine. The show's fine. It's fine. I don't have a lady love, but I would like to be the lead in this any musical. So hit me up if you're looking for that. But I think that there's a lot of weird deaths and there's cults and there's weird things. It's fine. It's fine. So that's my thought on that.
I want to know who was going to be Evelyn Evernever. Who would have been like, that's me. That is me recruiting for my dad to get into the crazy cult.
Dad in quotes.
Quotes.
Dad, yeah, father in quotes. I don't know what dog means.
Yeah.
The fire burning one, where the dog is sitting at the table and the entire room is on fire around him, and it just says, "It's fine" or "I'm fine."
This is fine.
This is fine.
Yeah,
That's what it says.
Oh,
it's just how you say it every time.
You have to send that to the group because we talked about it here, so we'll have to put it in the website.
I picked up on that too.
All right. I'm probably going to regret this question, but let's talk about season 3 in general. What did we like? What did we dislike? You can stay general or you can get specific. Let me have it.
So much.
I have so many feelings.
I want to hear those feelings.
I always say the name wrong, so I'm just going to call it G&G.
Griffins and Gargoyles.
Thank you, Emily, because I always mess it up. It was weird. I did the flashback episode that came from it.
Loved that
And
episode.
I love that Mark Consuelos' son came in to play younger him because they don't have... Because essentially they didn't have a son to play him, whereas Veronica got to be young Hermione and Lily got to be whatever. They all got to be their parents.
Loved that.
So I loved that his son came in to play him. And honestly, I think that's the best thing that came from the G&G arc. Is the flashback episode.
I thought the whole G&G arc just got so boring and tedious, and there was just so much, and it just was so back and forth, and you thought it was over, and then it wasn't, and then you thought it was over, and then it wasn't, and the whole Gargoyle King, I hated it so much.
I wanted to like it. I know what they were doing. This was a strong hark back to the 80s. This whole season was all about 80s teen stuff, including Dungeons and Dragons, which is when the game became popular. And it's also somewhat taking a cue from Stranger Things and writing that page until it died, basically. The problem is it got extremely messy. It was so messy that at times I was just like, what the F is going on? You know? And why do I care at this point? Like at some points, Jughead, who is my favorite character, was so like fervently obsessed with it. And then other times he was like, but it's dangerous and oh well, whatever. And we're just going to solve this mystery.
Yeah.
And I found when the characters wavered on it, I wavered on it. Like, what? If you don't care, why should I care? You know? Plus the fact that Griffin's, like I said, what I'm a little bit afraid of is that Dungeons and, nerd culture has kind of become a mainstream thing in recent. Everybody doesn't, back in the 80s, nerd culture was not mainstream. That was Bad News Bears if you were into Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm really happy that we can all be grown-ups now and bring it into light and everybody can like what they like. I feel like Riverdale is taking plenty of pot shots at it again and using it in kind of this evil context, and that bothered me a lot. And it got so messy. I don't really know what the point of it was in the end, although I do agree the flashback episode was probably one of the two best episodes of the whole season. The other one being the Heathers.
Yes.
Of course, it was the Heathers episode.
I think I'm one of the few that didn't love the Heathers.
I didn't love it as much as I loved the Carrie episode.
Oh, see, I was flipped.
More.
Oh, really?
I was flipped.
See, my big complaint with it, though, being such a huge Heathers fan, like, I did it when we did it here, and I, like, know that show like the back of my hand. When they changed all those lyrics, I was so annoyed. I was like, why did you change it? And some of it was unnecessary. Like, I understand changing some of those lyrics to, like, make them fit a little bit better, but a lot of it was unnecessary, and I was like, why are you changing it?
Here's my passion. I think it's unnecessary that we're making these movies into musicals. Heathers is an unqualified classic dark comedy.
Yeah.
I like the songs in Heathers. I like the book in Heathers. I think Heathers is a well-structured musical. To me, this one felt like it fit the theme of the season so much better.
Yeah.
The whole cast was involved, not just a select few.
I like that Cole Sprouse actually sang this time.
Yeah, Jughead sang.
When they sang 17, I was like,
yeah, that was really, really good.
Songs.
I thought the staging was really good. They actually took it fourth wall in the TV show. I thought it was a much more immersive and interesting use of it than Carrie was. And not just because
I can agree with all of that for sure. My main complaint was that they changed all those lyrics.
And weirdly, though.
It was like in Big Fun, like I understand them changing a lot of that stuff, but it was in some of the other songs that I'm like, why are you even changing this right now?
Like the opening number.
Yeah, I'm like, all of this stuff still makes sense and applies.
I'm
just
lyrics.
such a huge Heathers fan.
I'm with her. I've not been in Heathers, but when Heathers came out, I was like, yeah, I'm even the odd duck that likes some of the songs from the East End production, which is apparently like a black sheep. Like, people act like that doesn't exist. But I Say No or something like that, not plugging it, is great.
Which is also precedent for the lyric change here, nevertheless.
Right. So, because I knew the songs so well back and forth, there were moments where the lyrics were changed, where they didn't need to, like, not to be safe for TV. Like, there was no reason to change what they changed. Yeah. And I think that's what made me so not love it as much as the Carrie one. I will agree that it fit so much better than Carrie did. Like 1,000% fit so much better than Carrie. Just the changes in how some of the songs were sang, that was what the theater lover in me was like, ooh, I don't like this.
You know what I loved is when they said, well, we were going to do Godspell, and I was like, why didn't you? That would have been so good. And
that's season 4. No,
everybody else, oh my god, that would be hilarious.
Everybody else watching was probably like, thank you for not doing Godspell. I was like, but prepare ye. Okay, I gotta bring this back, because you guys are hitting a lot of great stuff. No, that's great.
That's what moderators are for.
Let's rewind a tiny bit and talk more about Griffins and Gargoyles. So, are any of you D&D players or fans?
I want to play it.
I want to play it.
Nate, you're a player?
I play other RPGs.
Nate, are you a dungeon master?
No, I don't like to direct. I do not like directing. I think being a dungeon master, if I can nerd out for a second.
Please do.
Do it, because I have a lot of questions.
I'm your ally.
Nerding out for being a dungeon master. Like, being a dungeon master, it's like, imagine walking into a room full of people and you have made a dinner. Okay, and so you set this dinner on the table because you're like, this is how this dinner is going to go. And then everybody eats all of the dessert, right away. You know what I mean? Just completely eats it out of order. And there's so much that can go wrong as a dungeon master because you have this beautiful idea of how it should go in your mind, but you are basically walking in with a room full of improvisers and they are going to just stomp all over it. Being as someone who has stomped on many an adventure, so that's how that's how I'm keeping it from here. My archetype is I am the quintessential bard or wisecracking swashbuckler is how I usually play my characters. Being a dungeon master is such a thankless chore. It's like being a moderator for a podcast, if you will. Because you have these great questions, and then it's like, oh, here's 10 minutes of this thing that is not planned.
So, Micah, did you say you play D&D?
I played just like a one-shot a couple of times. The main way that I've been getting into it, since the people listening to this obviously enjoy listening to wonderful podcasts of high quality, I've been listening to one called The Adventure Zone, which is... It's by the McElroy brothers, and they kind of already have a couple of other podcasts. But that one is geared more towards being humorous. There are some, corners that they cut rule-wise and stuff like that. But interesting, jumping off of what Nate said about the whole, the dynamic of the Dungeon Master, crafting this well-made narrative, and then the players being able to do whatever they want. And depending on the roll of the die, they might even be able to completely subvert an entire leg of the story. For Griffins and Gargoyles being contemporary for that, what are they even called? I can't remember what the
Dungeon Master for...
Was it called Dungeon Master for Griffins and Gargoyles as well?
No, it was
a storyteller or something, isn't it?
No, Spellcaster is what FP was.
Oh, that's right.
Whatever Jughead was trying to become when he started leading games.
Jughead was the Hellcaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a name for the master, but I can't think of what it is right now.
Okay, yes. Well, with that role, it was much more structured in terms of here are your quest cards. You have to do this, this, and this. There wasn't much room for the characters to just do whatever they wanted, and I think that helped drive the story along, even though we've said the story didn't really drive along. It could have been worse if they'd been more similar to D&D, I think.
Yeah, and what was weird is sometimes they're playing and it's a tabletop game like Warhammer where there were little pieces involved and then apparently then it's LARPing as well, live action role playing. I don't want to drop all the inside stuff. So it's it was such this amalgamation of role playing games that it was almost like somebody had vaguely heard about Dungeons and Dragons, and then they were like, "Oh, I could make up a game for that."
Every time a character said, "Let's take this off board," that put me out. That brought me out of being an audience member. So cheesy.
That was a confusing thing to me, and I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. I would love to, but I can't find somebody that will play. But I love all nerd board games. I like nerdy stuff, so I would think it would be really fun. But for people that don't know a ton about it, and then watching this, you're like, what is the game? Explain the game to me.
Confusing. Because even when they did the flashback episode, they kind of started to explain it a little bit, but not really. And going back to what Micah was asking about what they called their dungeon master, they were just called a game master.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was and the Griffin Queen, they had all these different things.
Well, and that's what so I actually play a legacy RPG game called Gloomhaven, which came out in the last 5 years. If I was going to compare Griffins and Gargoyles without the off-board stuff, it's actually closer to Gloomhaven. Okay. There are prescribed sets of decisions over rules, as opposed to there are rules and a story and a roll of the dice and decision-making, which is how Dungeons and Dragons work, is a little bit more involved. So this was Griffins and Gargoyles pulled elements from... And Gloomhaven is more tabletop-oriented, so it definitely pulled elements from Dungeons and Dragons, especially when they went cosplaying at one point, just because there was that decision-making roll of the dice piece, but the cards made it more like a tabletop Gloomhaven Pathfinder situation. But then, there was the LARPing aspect, which took it into
Jumanji territory.
Yeah, a little bit.
It went even deeper than that, because then they were actually given quests to hurt people, like the card to kill the Red Paladin.
The Red Paladin card, and that whole thing was weird.
Like, I liked the concept all in all. I really did, but it was just so like a cluster of thrown together.
It was as if, what would have happened if Dare had made a role-playing game in the 1980s? Like Dare as in the Dare to Keep Kids Off Drugs Dare. Because it was like every misanthrope of, because it was even mentioned at the top of the cast where, weaponizing D&D was like all of the bad things that have been carried down through the generations of D&D were made clear in this game. And so it was like the person, again, where it came from the writing standpoint, it was just like somebody was like, here are some stories about D&D, here's what people said about D&D in the 1980s, and then some young plucky writer fresh out of college was like, I can create a mystical world full of fantasy and wonder. And then you get Griffins and Gargoyles, and from a role player standpoint, it was just like, oh, I see what you were trying to do, but this is claptrap.
Well, interestingly enough, that takes us back to what you guys also brought up, was how we had this big flashback episode, which was a clear homage to the Breakfast Club, because they had detention, and it was Saturday.
And Anthony Michael Hall was the teacher.
Well, didn't they do the hallway scene, too, where they were running and slid?
Yep, they did a lot of that stuff. I was like, I love Breakfast
Of course,
Club.
we know Molly Ringwald is cast. Well, she's not a series regular, but she's a guest, a recurring guest. And she was in that. So you guys mentioned you liked them playing their parents. What I thought was really cool, they weren't just playing themselves as the parents, they were doing the characteristics of the older characters as younger. So I thought that was really cool. But we got to see the origins of Griffins and Gargoyles. So, sort of.
Yeah. One thing I will say that jumps back to a point that Sarah made in our season 2 podcast is that these kids, they're called the Midnight Club because they are in the school at midnight during the week. They are raiding the theater department's extremely robust costumes. So I have
that Booster Club deserves an award on its own.
I think that was an homage to the Never-Ending Story, though. Because he ends up in the attic at night reading the book, and that's where the theater department keeps a lot of their crap.
Yeah.
That's fair. I just do have to reiterate Sarah's question of who works at this school? Do they have employees?
Yes.
The one employee died that was in that.
I know.
Yeah, Anthony Michael Hall died, spoiler. Not in real life, on the show.
On the show.
Yeah,
I like that we got more.
Season 2, he's also dead. This is a bad place to work.
Place to work.
I do like that we learned more about the parents in the flashback, like how Alice ended up with Hal, because she clearly was a South Side person. She was in the biker clothes. She looked hardened or whatever, and then all of a sudden she comes back as the preppy looking, wanting to get to know Hal Cooper. So it was nice to see, and she even tried something with Fred Andrews. It was nice to see their quote-unquote stories.
It's Grease backwards.
Yeah, and we saw Hermione and Fred together too, which I loved that they cast that they had the kids playing them, because then we saw Veronica and Archie together, but in that setting, I just thought it was all so good.
Well, it was nice to see Hermione's loyalties. She liked Fred. I would even dare to say love, but she knew she had to end up with not Vikram. Hiram. I don't know where Vikram came from. I do have a friend named Vikram, but that's... Anyways, she ended up with Hiram because she had this, she had to do what her family wished. Mm-hmm. So that was neat, too, because you see it even when they're older. She's not happy with Hiram. And you can see that it started even as a teenager.
I gained a lot of new respect for the young actors on the show in that episode, specifically. I thought they did an excellent job.
So good.
And they tackled that, and they had their own storylines this season. So some of them were Betty had dark times again. Veronica became a full-on entrepreneur with major daddy issues, which, by the way, how is she running 2 businesses and going to high school? Okay,
Because she doesn't have homework.
Illegal businesses.
Yes.
They're not even legit.
Right. Yeah.
That's a work credit program.
Yes. Yes. So then Archie became a semi-professional boxer. Jughead worked for the sheriff. Cheryl joined a cult. Kevin joined a cult. Tony joined a cult. Fangs joined a cult. Everyone's joining a cult.
Fangs also got with Kevin. I didn't see that coming.
That came out of nowhere. I'm here for it because they're both very handsome young men. But at the same time, I was like, but you were trying to get with Midge, but also Moose was with Midge, so...
Midge is the closet transition.
Midge is their beard.
Yeah.
They're just, Riverdale's not having any bisexual erasure. They're saying, no, everybody's out here. Love looks like all kinds of things.
I don't know. It feels erasure when you're killing the people, but okay.
We also
Archie,
introduced...
a semi-pro boxer, as much as I would call him forced underground pit fighter.
Fight Club.
Well, except that he then bought... Well, at the end, he was given the gem, but
later on, but it's like he gets his start fighting in an empty pool.
That's true.
In the basement of the jail.
We don't talk about Prison Fight Club.
Yeah.
The first rule
what
Fight
happens
Club
in Prison Fight Club stays in Prison
The first
Fight
rule of
Club.
Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club.
That's right.
Well, we also got a new cast member, young person, Jellybean Jones.
Oh, yeah.
I was waiting for her to come on the scene.
I liked Mad Dog, too. He was a
Mad
nice
Dog.
addition.
So, do you
Mad
want
Dog's
to talk
good.
about prison?
Yeah, let's talk about Prison.
Just as like an opening statement, I think in terms of if they're going to separate Archie from everyone else in the ensemble, they would have needed something that had its own unique hook as a story, and I think they nailed it. I think the prison pit fighting dynamic, that was one of my favorite things about this season.
I would have liked it better if it hadn't just been a storyline on Arrow.
So, I don't like prison. I won't watch shows with Kylie knows this about me. I will not watch shows where prison is happening. It gives me such anxiety and terror. I'm worried I'm going to end up there as an innocent...
Nick was the lone member of this household on Orange is the New Black.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I won't
And that was a women's prison.
But my big question, and I asked Kylie this the other night. Sorry, I talked to her behind the podcast, but I said, I didn't understand because he pled guilty, and then they were getting the Innocence Project all involved, and I was
Which is not for... It's supposed to be helping against systemic racism.
For people that are forced to confess in police. He stood up in open court and pled guilty. I don't know. I did not understand that. There was a lot of time and effort.
Problematic social commentary.
Yes,
I also didn't like how Veronica and Cheryl, they all came and did that performance.
Yeah, outside the prison.
Oh,
That was just a bad idea.
But I think it was Veronica being like, my daddy doesn't want me to do this. I'm going to do this.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to stand right outside the prison gate and dance. I don't know. Does anybody
If anybody knows, please let us know.
Well, there's a maximum security prison one county over, and I'm pretty sure that's never happened.
Yeah. So if you know, tweet at us at CPU Podcast.
Can I just say, I love how Joaquin randomly came back. Joaquin was in jail, was in prison with them.
Yes.
He's just that skipping stone character. He's like, here I am in season 1, here I am in season 2. Oh, guess what? I'm back in season 3.
Yeah.
Well, back to the guilty plea. You can't appeal a guilty plea. That's the other thing. If you plead guilty, you're on a deal and that's it. You're done. You can't appeal. So I'm glad they figured out it was coercion later. If he hadn't have pled guilty, the coercion thing would have overturned the appeal like a logical legal drama.
Yeah. It was problematic for me.
Yeah.
And he was there way too long and I wanted it to end. Now, I get how it led to the boxing and the underground fight club and all that and showing the corruption in the prison system but I just
and that the warden was playing Griffins and Gargoyles.
Wow.
Because he was sending them after Well, and that's essentially what took Joaquin's life was Griffin and Gargoyles from the... My brain is not working with words today. Warden?
Yeah.
Yeah, that word. Because didn't he get a card from the warden or something to go after the Red Paladin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shanks Archie right before Archie's big fight.
Joaquin
Right.
Phoenix, yeah.
Okay, so here are two of my other main complaints about the season. When Archie went to Hiram later in the season about the Red Paladin cards, Hiram said that he only printed 12 of them. He said, I printed an even dozen of them. And 12 people showed up and fought him. But there were other cards that we already saw in play, and that added up to way more than 12. And I was so annoyed with that, number
Good
one.
job doing math, Emily. Yay!
Sarah teaches math.
The other big thing that, like, really annoyed me was when Hiram gave Archie the keys to the boxing ring the first time. He's like, oh yeah, I just, like, acquired this other block of the city, like, and guess what? It has an old boxing ring. Like, we live in a pretty big city, comparatively so, and I don't think we have more than one, like, boxing gyms. Like, how does Riverdale, a small town, have at least two?
We don't question Riverdale anymore.
It was just the way that he was like, oh yeah, I just, like, acquired this other city block, and I'm like, but why? I just had
Growing up
issues.
in the UP, I remember that I would often just stumble upon abandoned yet fully stocked gymnasiums. Like, just every time I turn around, I'd be like, another one? Where'd this come from? So
I think we have to, like, expand... I think we have to expand the map of Riverdale to having... Because, like, there was... In season 1, there was only North Side and South Side.
Yes.
But that's not how cities work, so there have to be an East Side and a West Side. And then in season 2, there's this whole other, like, section of also, like, rundown places where Chick was living. Because, like, if this was a small town and there was a South Side, like a bad side of the tracks... Somebody in the Serpents would have already been able to give them a full rundown of who Chick was, because everybody's going to know everybody. But nobody knew Chick, so this has to be like a whole other neighborhood. And so now we've got secret abandoned gyms. Maybe that's the West Side? Like, maybe we're just, like, expanding, or maybe Riverdale is growing. Maybe it's a living city, and it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger.
Like a genome city, where it actually starts by building ruins and then becomes a futuristic city.
Well, and typically mafia stuff is a big city thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so now I'm going to rant again about the lodges. So we talked in our last episode about how Mark Consuelos was a nice addition, but kind of one note. He didn't really need to be anything else. He doesn't get better this season.
No.
So it's
Not really.
He just takes his shirt off more this season.
Yes.
Which that's fine.
I'm okay with
I mean,
it.
it's all right. Kelly Ripa shows up at one
Yeah.
point.
Oh, yeah.
That was a
That
Real
was
life
weird.
life. Totally corny.
Hated that.
But I did not, the whole lodge aspect of it, including Veronica's much developed daddy issues. Like, I get why she has the daddy issues, and she's the chip off the old block, and they're obviously teasing that out. But I'm like, we're already talking about, is there an east side, west side? Where is he scooping up this property? And how is it even within the city lines? And why is he strong-arming this tiny town? It doesn't make any sense. Was he such a bad mobster in the big city? Like, I just don't get it.
And now the governor is like putting a quarantine on
Oh yeah, because of the
Riverdale.
seizures.
Because
Yeah.
Kelly Ripa told him to do it.
Yeah, because that was all, like, she faked the water papers, the water results.
For a
the testing
Fabergé
results.
egg. Or a
A
Glamourgé.
Glamourgé egg. Come on.
I love how they avoid all the copyright infringement.
But it's so funny because it's like, some of it is just really weird. Like, the prison was Shankshaw instead of Shawshank. I was like, really? You couldn't have come up with any other name for a prison?
Well, and turning an old high school into a new prison seems like a really tough sell.
Tongue-in-cheek joke. High school's a prison.
guess.
But like, just the amount of money it would take to renovate
Convert
that,
it,
to
I
convert
know.
it. I'm like, that just seems like a dumb use of their
whole
money.
season was just.
It was,
Because then the farm came in.
oh my god.
Let's talk. Can we
Do
talk
we
about
talk about the farm?
So, yes, let's talk about the farm. So the farm is what we're probably going to call the cult, because they don't stay on the farm. They buy the Sisters of Quiet Mercy.
But I was so confused about, because the Sisters of Quiet Mercy were already involved with the G&G stuff, but then, like, the farm was kind of involved.
They were the ones
with the
that apparently
G&G
made
stuff.
it.
Yeah,
That came out. And I was
Yeah.
like, these
Because Betty
Catholic, quote-unquote, nuns made this horrible, torturous game out
Yeah.
of things that are Dungeons and Dragons.
People really
And they
hate nuns. I don't get it.
But they were also talking
are
about
nice.
all the Fizzle Rocks, and from what we knew, the Fizzle Rocks were a fairly recent thing, but then they weren't, but then they were, and I was so confused.
meth. I think Fizzle Rocks is also meth, but this
Yeah.
time,
Fizzle Rocks is meth that pops in your mouth.
yeah.
Yes!
And Jingle Jangle
I
is
thought Fizzle
puckering.
Rocks was just Pop Rocks since young Hiram wanted to mix it with his Coke like we all did.
I was so, like, that whole, the farm, the Sisters of Quiet Mercy, the G&G, all of that playing together was so confusing and so hard to follow, and, like, I still don't know. I still don't
My
know.
brain still hurts.
So,
Yeah.
we talked a little about the musical episode, but at the very end of it, we see who Edgar Evernever is.
Oh,
Chad
the
Michael
love
Murray.
of my life, Chad Michael Murray.
Chad Michael
Lucas
Murray.
Scott.
I saw his name on the, like, guest appearing in this episode. I was like, Chad Michael Murray, what?
So what were some of your thoughts on that? Because it is a little stunty, but it's sort of, well, what did you think?
I thought it was weird because I don't know why nobody else was clapping anyway. Like, you'd think, like, yeah, it was like a big political statement for the kids, but, like, you'd think that the parents would still clap to support their kids, but then to have only the farm people stand up and clap, I thought that was super bizarre and weird. But also just the fact that Betty was, like, so convinced that they were, like, that Evelyn was there to convert people. I didn't understand where that was coming from. Like, I didn't understand her motivation behind that, but then obviously we, like, see the scene of Kevin and what's his Fangs getting married, but I don't know.
Well, but remember, she had the vision earlier in the season where she came out on the porch and saw Alice and Polly
And the babies.
with the babies
Oh,
floating above
yeah.
the fire, and then had a seizure right after
Yep.
that. It was from that moment that she was convinced that the Evernevers were bad news.
Well, she knew that they were, but I didn't understand, like, I didn't see why she thought that Evelyn's, like, sole purpose of helping with the musical was to, like, convert people. I knew she
Because
thought
she's
that
weird.
I think it because the second Evelyn showed up at school, she started a youth group of the farm.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that was kind of like why she thought. But Evelyn was just a weirdo.
How she said her line, and I know she probably delivered it that way because they wanted her to be, like, cryptic and weird. At the end, she's like, I told you my dad would like it. Like, just how, and, like, knowing now that was not her dad.
Right?
Just skeeved me out a whole lot. I'm not gonna lie.
She is a talented actress, but should not probably be in any musicals.
No.
I was struggling with her because she couldn't dance on the beat, and it was very awkward. And I was like, bless her sweet heart. She didn't know she was going to have to do this.
Yeah.
I'm probably the only one that noticed that.
No,
choreographer.
no.
but
I
And
didn't
then
notice.
I was like, she was like,
KJ
really-
Appa can't dance either.
No.
Like, neither one of
Oh my
them
God.
can dance.
Watching KJ Appa in the beginning of the song when they're in the classroom and, like, watching him do all those movements was really funny because he just looked so awkward.
Yeah.
But no, Evelyn, oh my goodness. Evelyn, I apologize for my problems with English today, guys.
We know who you're talking about.
She just, I don't know. She always kind of weirded me out from the beginning. But that also proves that she's acting well, because I feel like that's what she was supposed to do. She was supposed to come in and make you, like, uncomfortable.
I mean, she also has a child face with big eyes, which can easily go creepy.
She kind of looks like Shannon Purser, the one that is Barb on Stranger Things.
Yes.
Like she even like kind of has that look. And that the second I saw her, I was like, is she supposed to be like Barb?
I thought it was Max from Stranger Things.
Oh,
I had to
yeah.
Google it. I'm like, is she?
Yeah.
Is this? And it's not her.
No, but they also
looks
look
like
very similar.
The red hair and yeah.
I do kind of love Chad Michael Murray as Edgar Evernever, though, because
Sure.
he has
He did
such
well.
a charming look to him, and that's how he gets people to convert to the farm, is by being sympathetic and, like, giving them what they long for. So he had, like, the face
Well, they had to get somebody good because they kept teasing it. She kept asking, "Where's Edgar? Where's your father? What does he do?" So by the time they showed him, it had to be somebody interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes back to what Kylie was saying about having like all the parents like be teen, quote unquote parents, be teen.
Right. This one more from the 2000s because of course he was the lead on One Tree Hill. But
Lucas Scott.
Yeah.
I loved him.
I do think they were running with that theme the entire season. Like it would. I think this is very much a show where they're consciously trying to engage sort of Gen Y, Gen Z, but also Gen X with the two different generations, and it did not surprise me. I don't know that I had any feelings about Chad Michael Murray. One Tree Hill was not my show. Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. But
he did a good job. I just I didn't like the conceit of the farm in general, and that it became an organ harvesting operation.
That
was so weird.
weird.
I mean, and then it made sense because isn't it Evelyn that's sick, and they're trying to like.
Yeah,
she's help her. Yeah. So, like, once you found out why it was that way, but I would have never guessed that the farm, but then it makes sense because you're farming organs and, like, harvesting them. Like, that makes sense. But at the time, I was like, what?
Yeah.
But I think it wasn't just for her sake. They were also selling.
Yeah, on the black market.
Yeah, because if it wasn't a match, then they just put it on the black market.
Right.
Which is so weird. I just thought that whole plot point was just so out of the clear blue sky and
cheesy as heck because when they brought Betty in one of her confrontations when she was storming the castle and she walked in and they were like, "We were expecting you. Join us, Betty. Join us, Betty. Join us." I was like, "Oh, okay. Thank you, Children of the Corn."
Yeah, well, they made a comment about Children of the Corn at one point, and they're the
Cheryl did.
Cheryl
I was like,
did.
"Thank you."
I was like, "That's funny. I like that."
Yeah.
I think this season kind of outed a big issue in just the way that the writing is done from a general perspective is they, like Kylie has mentioned, they don't do half-season arcs. They just do one season, and they stretch this stuff out, which can sometimes make things tedious. I think with this season, there were maybe 3 seasons worth of plots. The farm could have been its own half-season. The prison fight thing could have been its own half season, and you can combine the Veronica small business stuff into either of those. I think there was just way too many, and the Griffins and Gargoyles could be its own thing. Like, there was just so many stories fighting for the spotlight that it seemed like they only got the spotlights at the worst possible moments.
It just felt really messy and kind of hard to follow at times because it was all so messy. It was just so much.
It's like they all
Plus, how many
really
Gargoyle Kings are we going to have?
Yes. Legit.
30.
Mm-hmm. It's like they all had these great ideas, and they were like, let's do it all at one time. But I agree, like, it could have been half season arcs, or even just take 2 of them and make it one season, and then take the other 2 and make it another season.
We got another new parent, Gina Gershon, as Gladys Jones. Again, I felt like, well, it had to be somebody famous, because they couldn't
right.
just have it be some rando like me. They needed Gina Gershon. But what did you
Was she a teen person? Teen star person?
No, I don't think really.
I didn't think so.
But she's just a well-known actress. What did you guys think of her and her storyline? Because she ends up being kind of a...
Yeah.
Very unlikable.
I liked that I didn't like her. Because it made sense, because I can't remember if it had to have been season 1 when Jughead calls and asks, "Hey, can I come stay with you?" and Jellybean, and she like tells him no. And in my head I was like, what mom would like tell their child, like, who's clearly distraught, no, you can't come? So like seeing her in her story arc, I was like, no, like that's the kind of mom that puts herself first and whoever she can manipulate second. And clearly she was manipulating Jellybean.
I'm going to disagree a little bit. I thought that her kind of being an overall negative force undercut that phone call moment, because at that point in the story, all we knew was that FP had an alcohol problem and his life was falling apart, and so his family fell apart. So when she told Jughead not to come stay with her, that for me was more just like a regular family drama thing. Whereas if you make her some random kingpin of some other kind of illegal business, it just kind of made it seem like she didn't want him there because she didn't want him to find out about her business. I think it made her a little bit less of a dimensional person.
Yeah, I would say she, aside from being thoroughly unlikable, it was very hard to sympathize with what she later said was her motivation for doing what she did, which was to give them the life they never had. I mean, I think that's essentially what FP was trying to do in a sense, and it was kind of borrowing from that storyline. It was a lot less meaningful for this because we hardly knew her. It did feel like Jellybean was just a pawn.
Yeah.
And
Literally, and in several scenarios.
Yeah. And I wanted to see why FP and Jughead would give her another chance. I really struggled even in the very first meeting when Archie and Jughead end up
At her chop shop.
At her chop shop. Yeah, I just really struggled to understand why they would want to take her back even from that moment. So maybe that was the point, but it cheapened that part of it a little bit for me and took away from FP a little bit for me. When FP, I think, is the more compelling of the two parents and actually was on a real redemptive arc, as opposed to her. Not that she's necessarily seeking redemption, but I still had trouble believing that she really loved her kids. That's kind of where I was at.
I agree.
Although she did try to take care of Penny then.
Which was, that was probably the most satisfying moment. Although she didn't kill her, so I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Get rid of Penny. I'm done with Penny. Penny the snake charmer. Ugh, go away.
Yep.
Can we talk about the weird episode where it was just like Jughead and Archie hitting the trail?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Riverdale Kung Fu.
Stand By Me homage, because they were definitely on railroad tracks, and they definitely did a little wagon train reference, and I was like, oh, Stand By Me.
And there was the weird farmer's daughter interaction. I'm like,
oh, yeah, that one was weird.
See, that's where I kind of really started to enjoy Archie's arc again, was kind of through that. And then like when he was like, I need to just be away from Riverdale for a little bit, and he just sat in the cabin in the woods, and then it got attacked by the bear. That was weird because it never really came back, because we also like he was like, oh yeah, it was a bear, but like, was it actually a bear? Like, that was just a weird...
I think it was a bear. They tried to set it up by saying there's been bears spotted in the woods, so make sure you take your dog with you.
Yeah, it just...
Like, how does a bear sneak up on a dog?
Exactly.
I don't know.
I thought it was very bizarre and unnecessary. It felt like they were trying to set it up to be something more, and then they just kind of forgot about it. They were like, oh shoot.
Well, and that was his near death that sent him back.
Yeah.
That was also weird. So the bear is more scary than Hiram Lodge or the many Gargoyle Kings trying to kill the Red Paladin, apparently.
Yeah,
I'd agree
bizarre.
with that. I'll try my luck against a kingpin before I'll try my luck against a bear.
Given the chance, I would fight a guy who is really into D&D as opposed to a bear.
But that kind of set him back on a good track, I think, for me. Like, after those episodes, I think he became a much more, not enjoyable, but like a much more interesting character to watch, because he was having a lot more of these internal struggles. And then like the treaty with Hiram, and how he was like, okay, like the truce. That was the word.
I'm like, treaty.
The truce. That was the word I was looking for. The truce with Hiram. But I enjoyed Archie as a character more in this season than I did in last season. Even though his writing was weird, like having him be in prison and then not, and then the Fight Club. That was weird, but I enjoyed him more this season.
I agree with that.
They did a big backpedal after he got back from the bear attack, because he was like, I killed my good self in my dreams, and I dyed my hair dark. And then within one episode, his hair was back to being red, and kind of that whole dark thing was let go. I thought that was a little bit cheap.
He must have been filming something. I wonder if that was when he was filming that new religious movie that's coming out.
That would have been after The Hate You Give.
Yeah, he has some like
a movie of him on Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
So he must have been filming something else that they were like, no, we need your hair to be dark.
Is
he
makes
blonde?
sense.
No, he's dark.
Okay.
Yeah, his hair is dark for real.
Yeah.
For realsies. Well, okay. We did touch the musical episode a tiny bit. We have to circle back.
Do you have a list of all the musical references from this season?
Because there weren't as many.
Okay.
It wasn't like last season where it was like, this didn't have as many. I will say, I do not like the musical Heathers. I did see the local production, and although I found all of those local people to be talented and amazing, I don't care for the musical of it. I'm a little bit with Kylie, firmly in the, like, why are we doing these musicals? I know people love it. However, I will just say, when that opening started with Casey Cott, who actually sang this time, I watched it like 5 times, and I'm not even kidding you.
So much.
I really, really liked how they wove the songs in. I didn't need the one at the party with the what?
I hate
Big Fun.
That's my least favorite.
I didn't need Big Fun, but I liked.
Yeah, that's the lamest song in the show.
But I really liked what they did, and especially when they got to Heather, and Heather. I mean, that was just
so good.
perfect.
Except that, so I'm again big fan of the original movie. I couldn't suspend disbelief for Betty being one of the Heathers. The other two, yes, perfect Heathers.
I just liked it in that we had the brunette, the redhead, and the blonde,
which is what they were going for.
Yeah, of acting.
I would have.
And Josie being Veronica, I was just like...
That was a little weird.
That was weird. She's not a Veronica.
I would have put Josie in as a Heather.
Agreed.
And put Betty as Veronica.
Or even taken Veronica Lodge out and put her as Veronica.
Yeah.
We're recasting it right now.
I also was weird at the end. Like, they didn't really talk about Martha as a character, and like they didn't even talk about her at all. But you see Tony as Veronica at the end. But Tony was brought on as the choreographer. So how did she end up as Martha? Martha, the song she sings is my favorite song.
Kindergarten Boyfriend.
Kindergarten. Like, they could have done so. Like, I would have loved it if like they had Betty as Veronica or Betty as Martha, and then her singing about like Archie, Kindergarten Boy.
Or even bring back.
Okay, you're right. Let's redirect this.
Yeah.
Who was the girl who was obsessed with Jughead when they were playing G&G?
Shannon Purser.
Ethel. Mm-hmm. Like, I would have loved to seen Ethel play that character, because she could have sang about any of the boys.
But what I did like is that they weren't just. They took it and made the songs fit for what they wanted to do. Yeah. Obviously, I was dying of joy, because anytime you're going to sing...
17 was the best
rendition. I thought that was so good.
That was very good. They did the classic, hey, guess what? Even though we've been rehearsing this for weeks, you're now in the number, get on stage and learn it thing to Jughead, but whatever.
Or like, well, they also did, like, after 2 days of announcing they were doing it, like, the set and costumes are ready for you, you need to get on stage to rehearse this. I was like,
that wouldn't happen in 2 days. We know Riverdale.
Like every great theater production, a good long weekend. Completely built and costumes are ready. That's theater 101.
As people who do the theater set here, we could not suspend disbelief for that 1 minute.
And I might get some hate for this, but Madeline Pesh during Candy Store? No. Like, that whole
Madeline
number
Pesh
was
in all the musical episodes for me is a no.
It was really hard to enjoy it. I just couldn't.
I liked her in the Carrie one.
Yeah. And I don't
Heathers.
know. I don't know if it was just. I mean, no offense towards her. She's a wonderful actress. I don't think she has like a Broadway voice.
She doesn't.
And when they did, it's Candy Store, right? When they did Candy Store, that whole scene was just the battle between her and Tony, and like. Then the other girls kind of being like, what are we supposed to be doing?
It was like a dance sex battle.
Right. And I just couldn't. And then Tony had her own weird sex scene with the other people, with
Fangs and Peaches.
Was it Fangs or was it Sweet Pea?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was Sweet Pea.
And Peaches.
That was weird. And I just was like,
weird.
I know, what was that supposed to be? Were they going for a threesome?
Yes. Yeah. On the stage in their high school.
I just don't understand. Who was in this high school?
What song was it to?
It was,
Dead Girl Walking.
Yes, it was Dead Girl Walking.
Which, even in that song, she's just going to JD. Like, she's not going to 2 other people.
Well, I also didn't understand why they cast Sweet Pea as JD. If we're talking about the
I think Fangs would have been a great JD.
It should have been Jughead.
It should have been Jughead!
Yeah, but Jughead.
Do we honestly think he auditioned for the show?
He didn't.
Yeah.
He's
But
the broody
did any
writer
of them
type. He's not
actually
doing.
audition for the show?
I know, but just by principle of the Heathers, he should have been JD.
I'm a principle of like JD. No person who is like JD would ever be like into musical theater if we're looking at the
Yeah,
guys.
so exactly.
Like
Jughead, JD.
I
We're
just-
recasting it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
dead girl
CW.
walking in candy store. Oh,
Yeah.
They were
cringy.
painful. We did have kind of two sort of really epic games of G&G. The one involved the Jones family, right? They were
Yes.
playing for their...
For Jelly Bean.
Yeah, the weird
for Jelly
truth or
Bean's life.
dare part, that one, where they all had to tell the truth.
Yes.
Is that was
Oh,
that?
that's the final one. Yeah.
No,
No.
yeah, this is... Well,
That's
this is
the second to last one. The final one was the one that Penelope Blossom set the four main characters.
Yeah, this is the one where they had to rob Pops. And then...
To save Jelly Bean from the weird orphan kid.
So we had that one, and then we also had the ending one with the four main protagonists battling it out against Penelope Blossom's thing.
I just wanted to note that the weird kid was named Kurtz. That is a reference to Apocalypse Now / The Heart of Darkness.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant the little orphan boy. But Kurtz was
Ricky?
also, he was a
Ricky.
decent villain.
Yes.
Who had a red paladin card?
Yes.
Again, where did
Yeah.
all these other red paladin cards come from that
Well,
Hiram
Ricky
said he
is
only did
Joaquin's
12?
brother, right? So
Right.
maybe he passed it to him.
But Joaquin died.
but he could have given it to him
Oh,
before he
Mel.
died.
Male.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. There's so many plot holes, and I'm there
Podcast
with you.
listeners, Emily's face was literally stunned. But Joaquin died.
Yeah, he did die.
Don't you know that when you die, your card just bursts into flames?
It does. It's like a phoenix tears.
Total tangent real quick. I loved Madeline Pesha's young Penelope.
Oh, yes.
I
my God,
loved it.
Yeah.
Yep.
She did an excellent job.
I was in the middle of a whole question.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Sarah.
It's not anybody's fault, but now I don't remember where I was. Okay, so we
The
had
two
the
big
two
games.
big games of G&G, and the last one, it has the four kind of protagonists. They're battling it out against Penelope Blossom's puppet mastering,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
the Black Hood is back, and we
yeah.
find out who the Gargoyle King is, which is Chick, who did not die. Who was hired by the Black Hood. Everybody's shaking their head and thumbsing down right now. Nobody liked this.
I thought it was pretty clever, because, I mean, any unconfirmed death is a character that might come back.
Right.
But of all the build-up, after all the build-up and all the Gargoyle Kings, I was expecting some really earth-shattering reveal. This couldn't have been more anticlimactic and stupid, in my
But, like,
personal feeling.
Who-
Whether he died
Who
or
would you
not.
suggest?
I
wanna
thought
be
it was going to
Hiram.
be the uncle. Did he die? Uncle?
He
Claudius?
died.
The twin,
Claudius?
Claudius, yeah, he died.
Penelope
Oh, well,
plays
see,
him,
then
Jen.
I was waiting for something that wasn't going to
I was hoping it was going to be some character that we already knew that was still on the playing board, not this rando that was kicked out last season that nobody really liked. And why the Black Hood became the Black Hood partially to murderous impulses because he hated the fact that Alice glommed onto this kid who he had a real problem with. And now all of a sudden, just because he's boinking Penelope Blossom, he's working with the kid. It did not make any sense at all.
Because that was also
Well,
weird.
Even
Like,
the thinly veiled, where he's just like, I saw something of myself
Yeah,
when
I
he
didn't
was
buy that.
running in terror from me because he thought I was going to kill him.
That boy ran like a murderer, and I knew I had to have it.
I was like, now this kid's got the goods.
well, just like the whole...
Jessica, you're so funny.
I'm full of them today.
the whole, like, Hal getting transferred and then in the car accident and then not actually being dead. Like, I thought that was also just, like,
I
kind
thought
of
he was
annoying.
going to have had cut his own hand off.
See,
Sorry, I'm sorry. I hate it too. I hate it.
so
they
much.
set him up to be a little Hannibal Lecter-ish.
They
like,
really did.
actually, yeah.
His like the cell that he was in was literally like straight out of Silence of the Lambs.
But that's why I
did
bought
love
the
those
cutting
scenes,
off
though.
the hands and the
Yeah.
faking the death thing, because I was like, that's totally Hannibal.
But it wasn't
Yeah.
his hand, was it?
No.
It-
Was it?
Did he cut off his own hand?
I thought he had
I'm
his
looking
hands.
to the boys.
I thought the creepy coroner guy said he did cut off his own hand.
Yeah, did
Yeah.
he cut off his hand, Nate?
Can we...
Can we appreciate
Yeah,
the creepy
yeah,
corner
knife
for a
hand.
second? Because I love him.
that corner.
You just shot me off into a character that I have zero problems with. But where did the meteoric rise of Dr. Curdle Jr. come from? Why do they always have to say Dr. Curdle Jr.? He's just Dr. Curdle.
No,
Dr.
he's his
Curdle,
son.
Yeah, but like Dr. Curdle's dead. Long live Dr. Curdle. Like,
What?
His
Wait,
dad,
do you mean the dead Dr. Curdle or the alive Dr. Curdle?
exactly. Like you had the older guy for the 2 episodes. I guess the actor didn't want to come back, or they didn't want to bring him back.
I see what
and
you're
so
saying.
they're like, here is a guy who is much creepier. He is
but
Dr. Curdle Jr. All hail.
We'll also take your money to break the law.
Yeah.
Same as
Oh,
his
small
dad.
bills. Small bills.
Small hills.
Only small
Which he's
bills.
using at the strip club, because that's small bills. I have no idea, Micah.
They should have had Dr. Curdle is part of the Midnight Club, but played by that kid, his son. Ooh.
That
Oh,
was
that
a
would've
missed
been
Missed
opportunity.
opportunity, guys. Call me before you do these things, Riverdale.
Clearly, they just need to reach out to CPU.
Of course.
We'll help with the musical castings.
At
We'll give
CPU
them
podcast.
right. We'll give them great taglines. Sarah's
Great.
on time. Like, we got this.
We got this. We got
We'll make up more candy meth.
I'm trying to think
And
of
we
what
haven't
could come
even
next.
talked
We have
about the
Jingle
damn Fizzle
Jangle.
Rocks,
We
have
have
we?
Fizzle Rocks.
Yeah.
Well, what would be
I like
next?
how
It
it's
has
all
to be like
candy
like
based.
Skittles
Which
or
again,
M&Ms
M&Ms
or
or
something.
something.
belongs under
Laffy Taffy?
Ooh.
They could
Halloween.
run with Laffy Taffy.
Yeah, because that's already kind of sounds like something that would be.
Just kidding. I don't know how to make drugs.
I have nothing to add.
So
on
did
candy
anybody
drugs.
like the games of G&G or no?
I
I know you don't
did.
like the premise, but what did you think of this final
I
battle?
did like the final one where they had to
final
like
one.
put all their things aside
Mm-hmm.
and like work together. Thought for sure someone was gonna die.
And that was a big hark back to the Goonies. So
Mm-hmm.
continuing the level of 80s homages, that was a Goonies homage where they had to pass different tests to get whatever the pirate's name is, treasure, basically.
Yeah, One-Eyed Willy.
One-Eyed Willy, that's it.
One-eyed.
I fried my brains up.
Hey, we've had worse names than that on this show.
That's true, I know.
Papa
I just couldn't think
Poutine.
of it.
Long live Papa
Papa
Poutine.
Poutine.
Tall
my
boy,
fries.
because when he was a boy, he was tall.
Oh no. Well,
Alright,
so
well.
season 3 ended with the people on the farm ascending. They called it like ascending, but we don't know really where they went.
/ Heaven's Gate.
Right.
Yeah.
But there were no bodies, just a bunch of white clothing. So we don't really know, but it
And
ended
a very
with,
sad Kevin because he
Yeah,
got left
because he
behind.
got left behind.
they made him stay behind so he could say that they left.
Yeah, he was so devoted. And then they're just like, hey, you're going to be in charge of answering why we've all disappeared.
Does that mean they killed off Madge and Amit?
No, I don't think they're dead. I think they just moved on to a new town, but they maybe want
Yeah.
people to think they're dead.
Yeah, I don't know.
Foreshadowing, and I'm not caught up with season 4. It's hold on tight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Hold
season
on tight.
Gabby
That's
agrees,
it.
hold
That's
on
it,
tight.
perfect.
Is that why you've been so quiet? Because you're like, you know the answers?
I just.
You just didn't like this season.
Yeah. two and two. Yeah.
So when season 3 ended, we had the knowledge that Betty's mom, Alice, was working undercover for the FBI, of course, as we all are. at some
Because
point.
why not?
And
That
they.
at least felt better than her being a cult mama.
That's
yeah,
true.
it
Yeah.
see it kind of for me justified some of the other dumb stuff she was doing.
Yeah.
I was like, okay,
Like
all
her
right.
bitterness towards Betty and like
Yeah.
'cause
I'm
I feel like
scared
she
of
was
her.
so cold and like aloof. Whereas before we talked about, she was a helicopter mom.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she literally was
Yeah.
always over Betty's shoulder, always everything, and then all of a sudden, you're a horrible person, Elizabeth Cooper.
And tells Chad Michael Murray that she's scared of her in that tape that Betty
Yeah.
was listening
Yeah.
to.
So like that then all made sense because I was like, dang, Alice, get your
Yeah.
life together.
Right.
Like,
Get
what
your
is going on?
And then we find out that Betty's half brother Charles and
The
Jughead's
real-
half brother Charles is not dead
No.
as we thought, and he's her contact for the FBI.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
the real.
And see,
brother.
that then made sense because remember when they all went, I'm really referencing Cheryl and Alice, they got to talk to their quote unquote dead loved ones. That could have been Alice being like, I'm talking to Charles. Whereas Cheryl was probably really hallucinating over her ginger brother that she has a weird Lannister relationship with.
Whose corpse they dug
Whose
up.
corpse
Yeah.
they
She
dug
dug
up.
up
They
because
dug up.
Jughead dug the grave and the coffin was empty, so she clearly dug it up before then.
No,
I don't think it was her.
I think it was Edgar.
I
Yeah,
think it
I
was Edgar.
Yeah.
That's
When
what
did that happen?
They never, but like it would
They
make
didn't
sense.
actually talk about it, but I think that's what I
I thought Chick was dyed red hair and was the one she was seeing while hallucinating.
No, she had his body. No, they had
they showed his body.
They had
Yeah,
Jason's
she talks
body.
to the dead body at the end of season 3.
She like
talks
brings
to
it
the
back to
corpse.
Thornhill.
A nice little
Yeah.
psycho reference.
So,
Okay.
like, but then it makes sense that Alice
That
is like,
is a
I'm
psycho
talking
reference.
to Charles.
Yes.
Like, that could have been
She
her
is
not
actually-
turning against the farm, but telling her, like, talking to Charles.
Yeah.
Please pick up that I'm not crazy. Like, I'm actually talking to your brother.
No, I agree.
But
I
what
agree
was
with
weird is that she says in season 2, they talk about how that Charles supposedly came to the door and she thought he was a vagrant. And this was the Charles that Chick supposedly lived with. And she turned him away, and so she sent her child away, and it was so sad. And even Chick says that I was hanging out with this guy who was, supposedly your kid, and now it turns out that all of that entirely was a lie.
I
Yeah,
thought
maybe
it
it
was
happened in-
true. I thought that he was undercover trying to do something with the drugs and the prostitution stuff that
Undercover.
Chick was doing. And so he faked his death so that he could go
Deeper undercover.
deeper
Oh,
to
you
do
could-
this cult.
oh.
Maybe? I don't know. I'm
No,
reading.
I like that. No, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, unless they cover it in season 4, there's no reconciliation between Charles, the myth from season 2, and FBI man.
Unless
FBI
it's as
man.
Sarah says, which is that he was working undercover. I could buy that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a plausible
I just need them to
explanation.
say it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
agree. I
Tell
agree.
me.
Say it.
They sent me to do it.
Oh,
Sarah
sorry
Hable
for
actually
pushing.
knows all, and Sarah.
Yeah.
She's got the inside
Yeah.
scoop.
So we also see Hermione is arrested for the attempted murder of Hiram.
Because Hiram has her arrested.
Yes. And then we do a really fun device where we flash forward into the future and we see Betty, Veronica, and Archie covered in blood in their underwear, of course. We have to see them a minimum of a certain number of times in their underwear. It's probably in the contract somewhere. But and they're
you're KJ
burning
Alpha.
their clothes, including Jughead's beanie.
If Jughead's dead, I quit.
And they don't they say something along the lines
What am I
of
doing
like,
here?
we're gonna come back to the next podcast and she's gonna be like, I don't watch it anymore. Cole Sprouse is no longer around. Bye.
Yeah, so they say something to the extent
Like
of,
we never talk about this.
we're going to go on, finish this semester. We are never going to speak of this. We are going our separate ways.
Which kind of ties back, now hearing you say that, ties back to the Midnight Club. They had that thing happen and they said, we are never speaking of this again. It's kind of neat hearing it now and seeing it be almost full circle. Like something happens with them that...
But where's Jughead?
I don't think he's actually dead.
He better not be.
I would be so mad. But
He's
I don't
my
think-
favorite character, and I seriously
Yeah.
quit.
I don't
He's
think he's dead. I
telling
think
the
they want us to
story.
think he's
Don't
dead.
forget.
But I
That's
think
true.
Nate just said he's telling the story.
He's the
Yeah,
narrator.
exactly.
He's been the narrator
Exactly.
since season 1.
So I think they
They've
want
gone
us.
really in and out with that, though.
He must be.
He was still doing it in season 3, though.
Yeah, he
Here
must
and
have
there.
been somewhere else, and that's why they were burning his clothes for him. I don't think he was actually dead.
Yeah, maybe he accidentally, killed somebody, and that's where the blood
Yeah, he's
came from,
already
and they were
gone.
helping him.
Or maybe he knows that the other 3 did their thing,
Yeah, or
and that's why he's not at the fire.
I don't think he's
Gabby's
actually dead.
holding her mouth.
I know, like there's things that have been said that
She's
I keep
getting
looking
fidgety
at.
over there.
I keep looking at Gabby because I'm not caught up, but I have watched a little bit of it. And there was one time where I looked at Gabby and I was like,
I'm not of course, because I'm watching it in real time, but each episode of season 4 gets more intense.
Yeah.
It's the best season by far.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I will agree with Gabby. I'm not watching it in real time because I lost the CW when I moved. I don't have that channel anymore, and then I fell behind in the app because they only keep the most current ones.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But I will agree with Gabby that the episodes that I have watched on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Yeah.
Really?
And I'm just because this season was make or break for me. Season 3 was hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to give season 4 a chance. I'm on the podcast, so regardless, I would still watch it. But definitely, it's going to reel you back in.
Yeah.
And you're going to be back on board
lot
with
of
Riverdale.
truth is
You may not be an Archie anymore.
Yeah.
I'm
After
excited. Are
season
you
4.
excited?
Wow, these are some bold claims.
Question for,
Netflix Netflix
Jess
gets the
and
CW stuff like
Gabby.
2 weeks after.
1
right?
week
1
after.
week after?
Mhm.
Okay. So when do we think this season's going to be over?
May.
They just came back, didn't they?
Yeah, they just, like a couple weeks ago, I think. Because I keep
It'll
seeing
end in
stuff.
May.
I keep seeing stuff like on BuzzFeed that are like, watch what happened on TV this week. And I'm like, no, I can't. I want to know, but I can't.
I don't know, but coming back, now that we have taken a train real far away, coming back with the FBI brother, I don't know how I feel about him. It's just, even having watched what I've
I
watched,
thought he
I
was
don't know.
handsome, and that's
Yes.
about all I've got out of it so far.
Is it weird that I look at him and I was like, I don't see Alice or FP? Like, that was like logic. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't
all
see
the
either of
kids,
them.
He
everybody
looks
else
more like
is-
Hal.
Exactly.
Uh-oh.
He
Secret
did
love
look
affair.
like Hal. Well, but
Ooh,
Yeah.
maybe that's going to be a plot twist.
Maybe
Because
there was
Alice
some
has 2
close-
children you don't know about.
But she was already pregnant by the time that she
In
got
the
with
flashback,
Gabby.
yeah. she was
I was
pregnant.
gonna say because they've done such a great job of casting. See, Gabby's holding her mouth. They've done such a
Oh no,
great
she's
job.
just biting her
of-
nail.
She's like, no, this is not one of those times.
They've done such a great job of casting the kids to look like the parents that.
He does, now that it's been said, he does look like Hal.
no.
But what if, okay, like theorizing right now, what if we were wrong and she had already given up the baby she had been pregnant with FP, and when she was pregnant, when she met up with Hal, maybe that really was Hal's kid. I know it's a branch and I am going
I
way
gave
far
up that one too.
Yeah, because Hal's
No, but maybe she really wasn't pregnant, but she thought she was pregnant, and so then she did it with Hal, and then got pregnant. I don't know. This took a
That's
real Maury Povich turn. But I need a DNA test, I guess, is the answer to this.
we
But
need to find out if you are the father.
Hal Cooper, you are not the father, and you're dead. Well, we hope.
Also, in terms of like identification verification, we've had somebody say they were an FBI man before with no other connection. Like, can we get a meeting of this guy like in an office, like
we
in
see
a
a
legitimate
badge?
FBI headquarters? Because Agent Adams, not Agent Adams, Capo Adams, like he left a bad taste in my mouth in terms of Riverdale FBI involvement.
Yeah, we need a signed note from Scully and Mulder attesting to the authenticity of this FBI agent.
Yep.
They live in
think-
one town over.
Yeah.
He's on one side.
I
and then on
don't
the
think
other
they're
side.
coming.
They have bigger things to do.
They're busy.
They're doing other stuff. He's got a band. She's in sex education.
Great job.
So, my friends, we have to do 2 things right now. You have to rank your interest in the show after season 3 on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, 1 being low, 5 being high. Give us a reason for your ranking, and you have to tell us, are you going to continue to watch this show? And would you recommend it to others?
This season was like a low 3 for me. This one was really hard. But putting out that I have watched some of 4, I wanted to give it another chance. So I will continue to watch it. And I don't know anymore. Because the friends that I have that I know watch it, like, I didn't have to recommend it to them. So I don't know if I would recommend it to anybody. Probably, though, because I like people liking the same things I do. So I'd be like, hey, watch this show. So we can talk about it. I don't know.
Well, I was gonna put it at like 3.5, but with what the ladies are saying about season 4, I mean that might bump me up to a 4 in terms of interest. Overall, as a season grade, I would say barely got to it. It scraped by with a 3 out of 5. There was just a lot going on, but I feel like they stayed pretty decent. I definitely will be watching season 4 since they've said it's so dang good. But I've mentioned this before. I can't recommend this show to other people just because like. It was hard enough being a Glee fan back in the day. We faced so much persecution. We barely got out of there with our identities and our fan status intact. With this show, every time I mention it, like, people assume that I like it because it's so bad that it's good, and I really just genuinely enjoy watching the show. So I have to keep this as my dirty little secret for a while.
Till the podcast episodes come out.
Oh, yeah.
So at the end of season 3, I was probably a 3, just because there was so much going on. And then when the cliffhanger ending, I was like, well, I mean, I have no choice. I have to watch it. And I will continue watching it because this season is stellar.
She said stellar.
Do you recommend it to people?
I mean, probably not.
Okay.
Because it's like a different different kind of show, and I don't really know any people that would like it, so.
Yeah.
I think overall for this season I was at like a 3. I definitely am interested to keep watching based on the reviews from Gabby and Jessica, and I think even if they hadn't said it, I would go back and watch season 4 anyway, just because once I start a show I have to finish it. I can't just jump the shark unless it gets real bad. There's some other shows that have happened, but my interest is definitely probably a 4. I would recommend it to people, but it would have to be the right person. I wouldn't just recommend it to all of my friends, just because it's kind of a niche show. Like, there's only certain friends of mine would really enjoy it, but I would recommend it to them.
Yeah, I would give the show, I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun this season. So I gave this one a 5. Highly anticipating season 4 for massive binge watching. And then, do I recommend it to other people? Yes, but like previously said, I would only recommend it to people who I think would like it. Like, I'm not telling my dad to check out Riverdale. Like, it's not really big for the 70-year-old crowd. It's not for them. Other people, especially this season, because of this one was so rich of the 80s references and everything. A lot of my fellow dork friends definitely have suggested it to them in the past.
I would give this season a 3 if this were the CPU standard star scale, or the star business as otherwise it is called by some people. The meaning of 3 would be there are things I like and things I don't. This very squarely falls on that fence, season 3. There were things I liked and things I didn't like. And I think I've highlighted what each of those things were. Will I continue to watch it? Yes, because I produced the podcast. But also now I have to see if Jessica and Gabby's claims will actually bear fruit. And Jessica's saying that I might be up to a 5. So we'll see.
I don't know. And then you might not be an Archie anymore.
Or might be an Archie. That's what she
know.
said. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to put that to the test. Would I recommend this show? So here's the thing. I have a lot of TV watching friends, and they're all helping me out on the Couch Potatoes Unite. And, TV is one of the things that you talk about with rando people. I cannot think of one person who isn't already on this panel that I could recommend Riverdale to. I'm pretty sure that the people in my sphere who already talk about TV and love TV that are not already on this panel are not already on this panel because this is not the show for them. And there are comic book lovers. I mean, we have a whole comic book panel that does the DC and the Marvel, and except for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they're off on their own. Mike is part of that panel. But there's not enough Archie love elsewhere, and this is very niche, and I feel like it's got too much of the trashy soap opera vibe, and that all rolled into one kind of makes it a difficult one for me to say watch Riverdale. Nevertheless, I watch it, so there we go.
I'm gonna give it a 3. I mean, if I were a wishy-washy person, I would have said 2.5 stars, but I don't really like half stars, so I'm gonna give it a 3. Because there were episodes that I thought were really good, and moments that like I said, I watched that musical sequence, the opening, like 5 times. I'm not even kidding. My husband was like, "What are you watching?" But then there were parts of it that were really hard for me to stomach. If I were not moderating this podcast, I would not continue to watch this show. However, I am moderating. And then also, Gabby and Jessica got me excited now. So now I feel better about it. I have recommended this show to people, actually students. I teach high school, so it's not inappropriate. I have a couple students that know that I do this podcast and are like, "What are you watching? What are you watching? Will I like this?" And they liked American Horror Story, so I said, "You watch Riverdale. You'll probably get a kick out of it." But I am also not going to recommend this to my dad or probably a lot of other people. I did recommend it to my husband, but he's a little busy, so.
I don't know that he would like it, but maybe.
I don't know either. I don't know. He's kind of eclectic at times, so.
He can be.
He's an American Horror Story fan.
He loves horror. He likes the horror genre, but he doesn't like teen sort of stuff, so this could really go either way with him. Who knows? If you're listening, Nick, Tweet at us at CPU Podcast.
He doesn't have to tweet.
But he can.
Okay.
Is there anything else you want to mention that we haven't covered? I'm sure we missed things because there was a lot going on.
Minetta got shot.
Oh, yeah.
Because we did kind of hint at that.
We didn't mention that.
We didn't mention it in the season that it actually happened.
And we didn't mention that FP Jones is the new sheriff.
Right.
Yeah.
And I kind of love the FP as the new sheriff.
I do. It was really nice to like see his arc, and he like went from being the alcoholic, being the king serpent or whatever they called him, and then now being the sheriff. I was like, oh, look at you go.
The scene at the birthday party was really sweet.
I loved
with Jughead's
that.
speech. And
I liked it, except the pragmatic side of me was like, what kind of training do you just need to be
Yeah.
the sheriff? Do you just waltz in and be the sheriff? My sheriff is my cousin is the sheriff of Kent County, and I'm pretty sure she like didn't just show up and be like, hey,
I
by
would like
the way,
to be the sheriff.
I can be the sheriff now. I'll ask her. I'll let you know, I guess. But I was like, that's really neat.
Cool.
But what's the job training here?
Oh, a little sad that I didn't say anything before. I think as far as like character improvement goes, the MVP for this season, who deserves a shout out, was Reggie. I just loved every new thing about him.
Yeah, he really
loved him so
exploded.
I loved him so much. I thought the scene where he and Veronica like broke up, I guess, where he was like, I want more from you. Like, I'm putting so much into this, and you're just treating me like a pawn. I was like, go, Reggie. Like, good for you. I loved that. I loved him.
He's a real boy now.
When he was justifying it, because like to him he felt like he was just like a boy toy, and he's like, I have feelings, and to see a male character in a TV show be the one to speak up and be like, I have feelings and they're valid, I feel like it's such a step for young men out there, because most young men are told, don't cry, suck it up, do this, do that. And then there's somebody like Reggie Mantle, who's the football player and the tough guy, who's like, I matter, so bye.
I loved it. I thought he was incredible.
Except
so good.
then he came skulking back
Yeah,
at the end.
oh, yeah. Sorry. We're going to just pretend that didn't happen.
Sorry.
I will say, because we kind of touched on it for a second, I was not a fan of the Pretty Poisons arc.
Oh, I thought that was dumb.
yeah, I didn't like that either.
I hated all of that. And then all the turmoil it caused with Tony
and then they all got good at
Cheryl.
archery at the end. I don't know.
I don't know.
I
It
think
was
they
so
were
weird.
trying to go for a Grease vibe there again. Only the pink
Yeah.
ladies are archers, I guess. But yeah, it
Ran
was
by adult Merida.
I didn't like
It
yeah.
didn't. Yeah, it,
It
didn't,
didn't work.
land, and it was tedious again. And I didn't care whether the serpents had members or not. I mean, I think that's what they were trying to go for. Was Jughead was somehow destroying the serpents as king, but then they lost that storyline pretty quickly amongst all the other ones. So
Plus, they just seemed like mean. Like, I really hate when they'll add diversity and be like, oh, we're going to do this character is now going to be a person of color or a different gender or something like that. But then, like, they're just mean to the main characters. Because, like, the serpents we've seen are a family. There's so much to love about anybody and just the dynamic of the serpents. But the Pretty Poisons just seemed angry at stuff. And, I don't know, that's not super valuable for me. I want to like them.
I didn't love it.
Yeah.
also, they needed better jackets. Just gonna say it.
Yeah.
They
They
did.
were like rip-offs of the serpents
Yeah,
jackets.
get
and
your
I
own
didn't
jackets.
think they looked that good.
No.
We didn't mention Josie and Archie having a little fling.
I
too.
was here for that.
Were you?
I
wasn't.
was. Just because... Didn't kind of have one before, too? Or was
With
it just
Me-
him
no,
and the other
no,
girl?
dating
Him and
them.
the Pussycats.
It was just a,
Yeah.
Val.
The other
Was it
girl.
Melanie? No.
Val.
Val was the other.
Val.
Yeah, I didn't love that. I
No.
was like,
Yeah.
meh, this is just alright. Like, why does he have to be with somebody right now? I was
Right,
hoping
like,
that
could
he
have
would,
been
like...
single.
I think they
Yeah.
explained it, and they didn't put it in our face too much because
Yeah.
she's kind of in and out of the show, so I didn't have a strong feeling, and I think they ended really well. You know, she said we're not endgame, and they remained friends, and it was brief, so I was okay with it. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
I think Archie needs to be single for a little bit and find himself.
Except him and Veronica found each other again.
Yeah, well, they need to unfind each other. Because I liked Reggie and Veronica.
I loved Reggie and Veronica.
I didn't care for Reggie and Veronica, Veronica, whatever we're calling them.
Oh, yeah, because it's
Veronica?
Jughead, Varchie, and then Barchie.
Veggie?
Veggie?
Veggie would work.
I liked Veronica.
Red Veronica.
But I don't know, I didn't need it, but I guess I don't. I mean, whatever. You do you, Veronica.
You Red Veronica shippers.
If You just want to be together, that's fine.
I don't know that I do much shipping. Maybe I'm old, but I don't think I care about that as much on this show. But
I like that because I don't feel like I care about it a ton either, and I like that because I feel like so many of those teen shows are so much about the relationships, and I like that it's kind of on the back burner.
Yeah.
I mean, part of it is that it's such a tumultuous show. Like, there's no point in investing yourself in a ship.
Right.
That ship could sink in 2 episodes.
Or
That's
someone
true.
could die and the ship is no longer
True.
existed.
Yep.
R.I.P. Midge.
R.I.P. Midge.
Aw.
The beard for all those boys in Riverdale.
Did we get everything?
I think we
Anything
did.
else?
Oh,
We got...
not to drag this on. I'm a little disappointed in that they didn't address Luke Perry and / Fred Andrews in the show. I know that has to happen and probably happens early on in season 4.
It does.
Which
The
we'll all
first
find out
episode.
soon.
First
Okay,
episode of season 4.
Good, because that was, like, it's cool they had Molly Ringwald coming back for all those last episodes, but I was still like, you're just putting it off. Like, we need this as an audience. Like, tie it up
Foreshadowing.
and be nice.
Have
The
tissues.
first
That's what
episode
I've
of season
heard.
4
Yeah,
directly
if you're an emotional
answers
person.
those questions.
Okay.
I think from what I read, they wanted to give it a little time in real life to happen, so that they weren't mirroring it too closely in the storyline, because it would have. I think they felt it would have been forced in season 3, so they just kind of let him be off on a fishing trip so that they could come up with something really good to address it. Was what I read. So
That's fair.
yeah.
Well, and I feel like for the actors themselves, too, like, you have to give them time to realize that this... Because, like we touched on in the last one, there's such a family aspect to them offset. And if you look at their tributes to Luke when he passed away, that's really what it was.
Yeah.
And so you had to give them time to realize that they're not going to see him on set anymore.
Time to grieve.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're an emotional person, have tissues ready for that episode.
I don't think I'm going to handle it very well. I took it hard when he died because he was one of my teen idols. So
I have friends that have stopped watching Riverdale after season 3 because they're not ready to essentially say goodbye to him. They're like, I know I want to watch season 4, but I don't want to skip the episode about him, but they're also not ready to watch that episode. There's a nice cameo, not giving away, but there is a cameo that I feel like you'll approve, Kylie. And you'll
I
really
think
like.
I already know what the cameo is, but because the internet spoils
Right.
things. But maybe
Yeah.
I've forgotten, and I'm not for sure.
I just feel like out of all of us here, you'll be the one to appreciate it the most.
Okay.
I think we got it all. I'm going to turn it back over to Kylie.
All right. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing such a stellar job moderating.
I do what I can.
Even though you are also losing interest in the show. Maybe.
I'm not really. I'm never going to say I'm losing interest. But I just don't know that I have time for the roller coaster. But I'm hopping back on because
All
they've
right.
convinced me. So
They made repairs to the ride.
yes, yeah.
Buckle down, let's go.
All right. Well, thanks, Sarah, for moderating. Thanks, Gabby, Emily, Jessica, Micah, and Nate for joining me to talk about Riverdale Season 3. And because we've talked about Riverdale Season 3, it's now time to roll the credits. Couch Potatoes Unite! Exclamation point was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, which is really another way of saying executively produced by me, Kylie Piette. My associate producers are Krista Pennington and Selene Rezmer. I edit this podcast, and our logo is by Rebecca Wallace. Our marketing graphic artist is Krista. Our theme song was written by Sarah Milbratz and sung by Sarah, Amy McDaniel, and Kelsey Rezmer. Kelsey played the keyboard, Ian McDonough played the bass, Christian Somerville played the guitar, and the whole kit and caboodle was engineered and produced by Kyle Aspinall and Christian. We hail from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts. Give us stars, give us comments, give us reviews. Let us know how we're doing. Send us a message. We might just read it on the podcast. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what we should keep, what we should toss. You know how it goes. And if you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, where we have a guest book, via email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, or via our social media, Facebook, Twitter at CPU Podcast, and Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite. Though, of course, we add new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time. We always have several more new episodes coming down the pike. Just listen to our intros. And if you miss old episodes or want to know in general what we cover, just find us. We are everywhere and searchable wherever you look for things on the internet. You can search for us, or you can subscribe on our website, our channels, our social media accounts. Stay up on our new events and episodes. Until the next time, seasons 1 through 3 of Riverdale are available to stream on Netflix, which currently has the CW contract, I guess for the time being, even if we don't have any contractual obligation to say that. Hint, hint, Netflix. Meanwhile, the 4th season premiered on Wednesday, October 9th, 2019 on the CW, and the last 5 aired episodes are always available to watch at the CW website or CW streaming app. In addition, our Riverdale series panel will next reconvene sometime this summer or early fall to discuss season 4 as our Riverdale panel converts to one of our panels who visit the water cooler every so often. As always, keep a weathered eye to CPU for all of the details. In the meantime, and until next episode, new episodes are published every Wednesday. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned!